If you're an anime fan, then you're probably aware of all the drama surrounding ChatGPT's recent update, which allows you to turn anything you like into a Studio Ghibli-inspired image. So far, it's mainly been used to give famous memes the Ghibli treatment, but we've also seen lots of images of films and TV shows reimagined in the Ghibli style, everything from Harry Potter to Stranger Things. I've seen plenty of people defending this, arguing that because they are just still images, they aren't really doing any harm. I'll get into why that's a dangerous stance to take shortly, but first I want to address the fact that people have already started using AI to create pale imitations of Ghibli animation, and why this could be the beginning of the end for anime as we know it. There's a video called What If Studio Ghibli Directed Lord of the Rings that's been doing the rounds over the past few days, and it's racking up views at a rapid rate. The channel in question is actually better known for doing the opposite, using AI to make live-action trailers for Ghibli films. But the guy decided to jump on the bandwagon when ChatGPT's Ghibli update dropped, and this was the result. Now, as you can see, it is far from perfect. The character designs change from scene to scene, and some of it looks more like stop motion than Ghibli animation, like the bit where Pippin sends the skeleton tumbling down the well in Moria. And that's without mentioning this elf standing behind Legolas who has half a face for some reason. It is immediately clear that this trailer has been made with AI, however, what you have to remember is that this was put together in just 9 hours. By his own admission, the guy who created this rushed it so he could get it uploaded when the buzz was still fresh. He states in the video's description that he didn't have time to lip sync or correct the obvious errors because he wanted to take advantage of the viral ChatGPT trend and get the video seen by as many people as possible. Now, imagine for a second that a quick turnaround wasn't necessary and the priority here was to create as accurate an imitation as possible. With no time restraints, this could theoretically be tweaked endlessly until all the kinks had been worked out, and it did actually resemble a Ghibli film. And that is a frightening thought. Of course, I'm not saying that AI is currently capable of creating a feature-length film that could rival something made by Ghibli, but we can't ignore how far it's come in the past few years. By the end of this decade, we could conceivably be in a place where people are able to create anime-like films and shows that look practically identical to the real thing for a fraction of the time and money. This Ghibli-style Lord of the Rings trailer cost the creator $250 in cling credits. That's a lot of money for a hobbyist, but it's a drop in the ocean for an anime studio. And we're talking about an industry that is already well known for underpaying and overworking animators. Most animators get run into the ground while working on a project, even at the bigger studios. For example, a lot has been written about how poorly MAPPA treats its staff, with one former animator comparing it to a factory and criticizing the toxic work environment. The issue of staff being overworked and underpaid flared up big time when Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 came out, as there was a clear decline in the quality as the season went on, with episode 14 being particularly bad. That episode's director, Hokuto Sadamoto, ended up issuing an apology on Twitter and taking the blame for the below-par animation, but most people defended him and laid the blame at MAPPA's door for imposing unrealistic expectations on its staff. While there are some within the industry trying to make positive changes, the reality is that this culture of paying the bare minimum while working staff to the brink of exhaustion is so deeply ingrained in the world of anime that it's not going to go away anytime soon. However, with the controversies continuing to pile up and increasing numbers of animators and fans voicing their displeasure, something has to give. So let me ask you this: which of these scenarios is more likely? Scenario A: anime studios bow to the pressure and suddenly decide to become more ethical after decades of operating this way. Or scenario B: they solve the issue of people complaining about pay and work conditions by replacing them with AI. The truth is that many within the anime industry have predicted that it will totally collapse within the next few years due to a number of issues that AI could theoretically solve. According to Terumi Nishii, who was the chief animation director on a number of Jujutsu Kaisen episodes, as well as the movie Jujutsu Kaisen 0, the situation will reach breaking point when the likes of Hisashi Kagawa retire. Kagawa, who is a veteran animator and director known primarily for Sailor Moon, is almost 60 years old now, and he's entering the twilight of his career. He's part of a generation that has taken it upon themselves to train the animators working under them, but that practice is dying out and the entire system is in danger as a result. This is what Terumi said. Once Kagawa's generation leaves, it'll be all over in one fell swoop. We need to work out a training scheme before then. You can't rely on production companies, because it's freelance animators who are training animators now. It's impossible for stupid companies that only know numbers. That last sentence is what really makes me worry about the future of anime. If all that these companies care about is numbers, then it seems somewhat inevitable that the people in charge will start leaning toward AI once its capabilities reach a certain level. They are already hesitant to put funds into training a new generation of animators, and my concern is that they'll look at stuff like this Ghibli-style Lord of the Rings trailer and think that if they just keep on doing what they're doing for the next few years, they won't need to worry about a lack of trained animators, because all they'll have to do is type some prompts and have AI do it for them. You can already see the argument forming. AI scraped our data and copied our style, so why can't we use it for our own benefit? Of course, one studio that definitely won't be doing this is Ghibli. Miyazaki famously called AI animation an insult to life itself long before ChatGPT started letting people churn out knockoff Ghibli images, so you can only imagine how pissed he was when word of this viral trend reached him. Here's what he said after he was presented with an AI demonstration by the Japanese company Dwango.
はい、とりあえず今日は人工知能で、映像処理するのっていうのがあちこち発表されてるんですけど、ちょっとうちの方でもこんなことやってますみたいな説明です。でこれは早く移動するっていうので学習させたやつなんですね。これ頭を使って移動してるんですけど、基本通覚とかないし、頭が大事という概念がないので、頭をもう普通の足のように使って移動してるっていう。この動きがとにかく気持ち悪いので、ゾンビゲームの動きに使えるんじゃないかっていう。こういう人工知能を使うと多分人間が想像できない気持ち悪い動きができるんじゃないか。
これを作る人たちは痛みとかそういうものについてね何も考えないでやってるでしょ。極めて不愉快ですよね。そんなに気持ち悪いものをやりたいなら勝手にやってればいいだけで、僕はこれを自分たちの仕事をつなげたいとは全然思いません。極めて何か生命に対する侮辱を感じます。
これでもほとんど実験なので、
それは分かってます。
そう世の中に見せてどうこうってそういうのじゃないんですよ。
それは本当によく分かってるつもりですけど、ど
こへたどり着きたいですか。人間が描くのと同じように絵を描く機械を作りたい。はい。
地球最後の日が近いって感じですね。それは人間の方が自信がなくなってくるから。
If after watching this clip you still think that using AI to create knockoff Ghibli images is okay, then I probably won't be able to change your mind. However, please try and remember that every baby step that AI takes toward being able to produce something indistinguishable from the art it's trained on takes us closer to the absolute death of creativity. If everyone can create a work of art simply by typing a few words, then art itself ceases to exist. After all, great art is only great because it's special, and when we reach a point where it's impossible to tell the difference between something that an artist has poured their heart and soul into and something rendered with AI in a matter of seconds, it'll be a sad day for humanity. And look, don't get me wrong, I understand the argument that people who weren't born with natural talent or simply don't have time to learn how to create great art have a right to scratch their creative itch, but this is not the right way to go about it. I get that it's cool to see how your selfies would look in the Ghibli style, but every single image that you render in this fashion normalizes the practice that little bit more and takes us closer to a world in which art isn't really art and anime isn't made by real animators. So if you love anime and you respect the people that work their arses off to create it for us despite the shitty working conditions, please think twice before you jump on the Ghibli AI bandwagon for the sake of a profile pic. As always, thank you for watching everyone, and I'd love to know what you think about this. Am I overreacting here, or is AI on its way to becoming a genuine threat to anime? Cheers guys, I'll catch you in the comments. Cheerio.